Welcome back to Whatsthatstrap YouTube. In this video, I'm speaking to exercise professionals. So general fitness customers, you can follow along for the ride, but the language I use is really directed at exercise professionals. And what I want to help you do, trainers, therapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and sport instructors, is I want to recover what I've called the ingredients of rotation, the 4 S's of rotation. I kind of like the idea of SPINFORCE. It's a play on the 4 S's, and rotational power. And those ingredients I've called in the past stacking, shifting, separating, and sequencing. 4 things that I think are independent yet interdependent kind of movement abilities that we can work on responsibly in this corner of the gym with the Whatsthatstrap attachments, cable exercises, and similar attachments. This video is not about giving you good exercise. It's about helping you see the good in all exercises. So when you see an exercise on this account, or especially on the Instagram account where things get kind of creative, you can easily see the purpose through this new lens. I'm not a new exercise guy. I'm really not. I'm a few exercise guy. Let's prune our exercise catalog down to the few exercises that check all of the boxes, and let's not be too redundant. So, with that said, I want to cover these ingredients and help you understand and audit your own program and maybe learn some new movements along the way. The first ingredient in this presentation is what I call stacking. Stacking is one word used to describe awareness, control, teamwork through the center of our body, our head, our rib cage, and our pelvis, or our nose, our sternum, and our zipper, landmarks that I've referred to in other videos. You might call this core stability or midline stability. All right, it's all the same. I'm just using one word. What I want to emphasize is that a stacked posture, which really refers to kind of keeping the head, rib cage, and pelvis in somewhat kind of a neutral zone. And by neutral zone, just a collective position where they have really movement ability in a lot of directions. So the curves of the spine, particularly the secondary or lordotic curves, the lower back and the cervical spine, aren't pushed or shifted towards an end range sagittally where you begin to prune off other ranges of motion. So everyone watching, you can do this for yourself. Push your head forward, try to look in your blind spot. It feels terrible. It's just a really elementary example of how shifting your spine in one direction might prune off movement availability in other direction. So to take a term from golf, we want to establish an exercise address position, a starting position where we're kind of in neutral. Our chest isn't stuck too far out, our back isn't extended, our pelvis isn't anteriorly tilted, our butt isn't sticking out too far, our head isn't forward too much, or any of the opposite. Somewhere close to neutral. The stack traditionally refers to a position where the rib cage is over the pelvis, and if you could take an x-ray, it would look like kind of the lower ribs are parallel over the top of the pelvis. And I've used the HipSquares to try to illustrate the feeling of that. It's a pretty good position because as an address posture, as a starting position, it gives us some freedom to move. When you line up the collective hinges through the spine and hips and you're in a good address position, golf instructors know this. It's why the setup is such a critical fundamental, is that it sets the body up regardless of flexibility available to spin as much as it anatomically can. If you kind of get wonky with your setup position, you can start to prune off available range of motion. The starting position of the kind of collective hinges is going to kind of determine where the door wants to swing. So you want to set yourself up in a good position. Again, from a side view here, it's going to be somewhere closer to neutral between the head and pelvis. Even if as I change degrees of hip flexion or trunk inclination, I want to fold together as a team. I don't want to just stick my chest out and stick my butt back, kind of separating through the middle here. I want to stay relatively connected as an exercise address position. Now, luckily, that stacked position, rib cage over pelvis, is important for what I guess we can call like high effort, impact, or release position. So if I was to demonstrate kind of a general rotational archetype here as a rotational athlete, I don't know if this is swinging or striking or whatever, but I'm rotating that way toward my target. At impact, you're going to see this kind of common organization of rib cage over pelvis, even biased toward a little bit of flexion. So certainly there's going to be some motion through the trunk during rotational movements. We're going to leave that stacked position, but we need to retrieve it. We need to have awareness of where we are. We need to be able to retrieve it. The pelvis is going to tuck back underneath the rib cage. The rib cage is going to screw back down on top of the pelvis. Hip extensors and abs posteriorly tilt the pelvis. Abs rotate and flex the trunk, and you see this kind of common position for impact or release. The rib cage and pelvis to a degree kind of leaving each other, and then again retrieving that stacked alignment. When you see when you're evaluating somebody's movement or exercise technique, look at it through the lens of, do they have control and awareness of midline throughout the movement? The next ingredient of rotation is the ability to shift. Now, shifting sounds like side-to-side movement, and these exercises will definitely be incorporated in this category. But I think more completely, shifting refers to the ability to shift mass or pressure over, into, and out of one leg, to really thrive and be fit and strong on one leg, because you can make a strong argument that rotational sports are really single leg dominant. We go trail side to lead side in different ways for rotational movements. And we don't just keep our mass or our pelvis kind of straight ahead as we slide trail side to lead side. There's different amounts of pelvic or hip flexion and extension. There's different amounts of ab and adduction and rotation. So in the gym, what do? We do our single leg strength exercises like single leg deadlifts and Bulgarian split squats, which keep the trunk pretty stiff and the pelvis, we'll call it kind of level or square. And in this corner of the gym, I think we're better suited to challenge those coupled movements. We're going to blend some movements together, and we can use the strap with the same patterns like our flexion and extension stuff, so hinges and squats, our frontal plane stuff against the strap, and then some purely rotational stuff like storks and rotational split squats to, again, challenge the body to, again, blend some of those movements together over one leg. One last point in this section is that I think what you'll find, your clients or athletes will find, is their control or balance during these strap-loaded single leg exercises will really be determined or improved by control of the trunk first. They will find a physical relationship between trunk stacking or trunk position and foot pressure. They'll find how when they adjust their trunk position so they get stacked or they get that rib cage back into the strap, it shifts pressure in their foot and it gives them a stronger foot or a better connection to the ground. I think that's an important physical lesson to learn. The next ingredient of rotation is separation. If you're not familiar with separation, it's also known as dissociation. Most often refers to the ability to rotate the upper body independently of the lower body or rotate the lower body seemingly independent of upper body rotation. And it's required for optimal rotational movement sequence. Most rotational sports require kind of a common whip-like sequence where the larger, heavier, stiffer handle of the whip gets moving slightly ahead of the lighter, smaller, longer, more flexible tip of the whip to create that whip-like action. And we need some flexibility through the body to create that sequence. In this section, I want to also include a different type of separation, something I haven't emphasized in other videos, and that's the ability to separate the line of the shoulders from the line of the pockets, so including some exercises that incorporate some tilt with our turn, because we're going to need coupled or a combination of tilt with turn or tilt with rotation for all rotational sports movements. Now, with the 3D strap, we have two fundamental exercises that focus on rotational separation, our pelvic loaded rotations and our trunk rotations. And what I'll say about this category is that when you're performing an exercise focused on separation is that you give an equal amount of energy to what is moving as well as to what's not moving. So when you're performing a trunk rotation, you're not just cranking your chest or shoulders as hard as you can to the right or left, but you're focusing equally on not moving the lower body. So keep your kneecaps pointed straight ahead. Keep your zipper pointed straight ahead and create that active dissociation or separation, even if it feels like you're abbreviating or shortening the range of motion. You're teaching your body to create that motion. Now with handle-based exercises, you can twist in all directions, okay, horizontal, low to high, high to low. And you can keep your lower body still once again. Keep those kneecaps pointed straight ahead. Keep your zipper pointed straight ahead. I want to emphasize that you don't just pull your arms across your body without moving your trunk. You want to visualize having a headlight coming out from your sternum. You're going to shine that headlight 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock as you keep your zipper or the low beams pointed straight ahead to once again focus on that separation. Now, one thing we can also do with handle-based exercises, and these aren't new patterns, but maybe, again, I give you a new lens to see the value or nutrition in these exercises, is that we can incorporate some diagonal movements. Movements that look like this. I'm just using a PVC to really give you a visual of the plane of the exercise here, or movements that look like this. And when you're doing diagonal or low to high or high to low movements, whether you're keeping your arm straight or you're doing more of a pressing type action, I want to give you the cue of taking this trail shoulder and following the direction of the cable or the direction of the effort. So if you're going low to high, this is easier to see. If you're going low to high in this direction, you take this trail shoulder, you start it low and you go high. So you can see that I am already taking my shoulders, tilting them with the direction of the motion, and then if I'm going high to low, you kind of do the same thing. So I'm feeling as though that this PVC kind of matches the plane of my shoulders and it matches the direction of the exercise because that's forcing some tilt with some turn. Now, is this exercise good because it mimics striking motions from low to high like uppercuts? I'm not sure. But if what I'm really doing here is I'm taking this kind of upper body and I'm putting it in a good position to transfer force into the PVC or into the subsequently the handle like the chop handle. This is a pretty weak position to keep your shoulders level and to try to just do this with your arms. I'm not sure what that achieves, but I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm trying to give a reason for my argument. What we want to do is we want to orient this kind of pushing platform so I'm in a good relative position to press out up on a diagonal. Now this tilt with some turn is also going to be something we need when I'm striking in this direction when the target is down on the ground or kind of waist height. You can see this combination of tilt with turn. So it's not necessarily the specificity of all of the movement ingredients, the pattern and the setup and the stance. You have to be able to see what the ingredient we're really focusing on. And just combining this tilt with some turn in this type of effort is going to be seen elsewhere in sports movements. And obviously, we can see that this type of pattern is going to be more nutritious for like overhead movements. Hopefully, using that PVC and giving you those cues helps you see the value in those diagonal movements. The last ingredient for rotation is sequence. Now, I'll be the first to admit, this corner of the gym, no force plates, no mocap. Force plate people, high level understanding of sequence. Mocap people, high level understanding of sequence. In the gym, we're going to try to keep it simple. What I want to do for my clients is help download some instincts that we see in higher level rotational movers. Two types of sequence. One, ground up. You'll hear me say body, 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 arms with some of my exercise demonstrations. I want to get the handle of the whip moving. I want to get the bigger segments moving before a strike with the arms. Tell my clients, make the weight light by using your bigger muscles and then push or then pull with the arms. Body, 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 arms. First type of sequence. Second type, proximal to distal, in to out. You'll hear me say abs, 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 arms. Abs, 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 arms. Just building the nature to use the abs, use the trunk. Don't just stiffen up everything here, keeping the sternum still, and pull arms across a stiff trunk. Get the middle moving. Abs, 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 arms. And we're going to blend those together with some dynamic exercises. You can use the 3D strap and some pivots to help encourage some of that motion through the middle in an athletic stance. Let the strap win, abs, abs, abs. Let the strap win, abs, abs, abs. Obviously, with every handle-based exercise, you can focus on moving through the middle, engaging the abs before that arm pull, or getting the body moving before that arm push or pull. My favorite attachment, because it's so unique, and I think it's a coach itself by design, is the hitter handle. Because when you're doing a hitter handle pivot, again, it's a very general rotational movement. It's kind of an exaggerated, loaded feeling or challenge to keep the trunk and the trail arm, call it linked up and synced up. First, you got to get linked up. You got to create a connection between the trunk and the trail arm. There has to be some stability, some stiffness. We get this arm bent, we kind of get it in the scapular plane. We develop some tension through the trunk, and then we get those bigger muscles moving. We get the body moving, and then we put the arm in a good position to finish kind of the strike. If it's arm only, the webbing between the lead side and the trail arm will break down. If the body kind of gets out of sync, it's just going to look sloppy, and you're not going to like using the attachment. So use all the attachments to encourage both a ground up sequence and a sequence from the inside out with your clients and athletes. that wraps up this presentation on what I consider to be 4 ingredients of rotation that we can work on responsibly in this corner of the gym. To review, stacking refers to awareness and control over the centers that make up midline, our head, our rib cage, and our pelvis. Do you understand how to set your body up to move freely from the start? And do you understand how you need to organize your rib cage over your pelvis to put your trunk in a strong position to transfer force out into your arms and into the implement that you're swinging or throwing? Shifting refers to the ability to have access and strength into what would be our trail side and lead side, and to be able to load and explode off each leg. Separation refers to be able to move the upper body and lower body independently of one another, both rotationally and laterally, so we can have that good whip-like sequence and we can maintain good posture to deliver force in the angles that we need to for rotational sports movements. And finally, sequence itself. In the gym, we're going to try to keep it simple. We want to download better instincts in our clients to have a ground up sequence, so encouraging a body, 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 arms pattern, and an in to out sequence, so encouraging abs, 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 arms, instead of just pulling the arms and dominating every exercise with the arms. As I mentioned in the introduction, I'm not a new exercise guy, I'm a few exercise guy. This wasn't a presentation of good exercises, it was helping you see the good in all exercises, which I think is a less stressful way to live and exist in this industry. Hopefully I showed you that a lot of your exercises are already, checking a lot of boxes, and maybe I showed you where you can change or adjust or add to your program. Hope you found this presentation valuable. Thank you for sticking with it because it's a longer presentation. Thanks for your support and good luck with your training.